So here's what's coming up in the session. We're going to be looking at exactly what sustainable tourism is all about. And going right at the very beginning, we'll be looking at different terminology as well. We're going to see why it's obviously important to focus on sustainable tourism. Obviously, there's many benefits for our planet, but also for your business, as Maria said. So we'll look at those benefits, but we'll also hear from you. And I know you've already shared some of your thoughts in our registration form about what you're already doing when it comes to being sustainable. So we're going to be sharing some of those, and there's plenty of opportunity to get involved in the session this morning, where we'll be talking about new ideas and things that you might already be doing or that you're thinking to do that you can share with others in the workshop this morning. And then we'll look at actually how to get your sustainable message out there and actually communicate that. And we've got some checklists and best practice as well. And there's a Q&A session. And as Maria said earlier on, if you do have any questions for us, pop them into the chat and we'll try and answer them throughout the session. If not, we'll answer them at the end of the session today. I should say all the slides we're going to go through in the session this morning will be sent to you after as well as a handbook later on as well. So you have all that information as well. So don't feel that you have to make lots and lots of notes. Of course, if you want to make notes, that's absolutely fine too. So what exactly is sustainable tourism? We all know the terminology, we all know kind of roughly what it means, but let's just spend a few moments on actually really going into some detail about what sustainable tourism is and how it actually applies to you and your business. So the word being sustainable is basically for human civilization of all types, of everybody, life on Earth, every animal, every landscape, is to continue to exist indefinitely. And that's very much what the word sustainable means. So when we put it with tourism, it's very much about considering the whole economics, the social, the environmental, on the impacts that the travel industry has across tourism. But when it comes to sustainable tourism, there are many different terms and different jargon and different words and things like that to talk about sustainable tourism. And some of them mean different things. Some of them mean exactly the same thing. So let's just start, as I say, right at the beginning and explain some of those. So ecotourism, is it the same as sustainable tourism? More or less so, but this really focuses on the green part, the environmental. Sometimes it's called ecotourism, sometimes it's referred to as just green tourism, but it's very much focused on that kind of environmental. So it looks less at the kind of the social and the economic sides of sustainable tourism, but has a real focus on the environment, nature, wildlife, and our landscapes as well. So this might be something you're kind of more familiar with, or it might not be, but ecotourism, green tourism are very much a part of being sustainable across your tourism. Green tourism, I should also point out, is also a membership organisation here in the UK where you can do a test and you can pay to become a member, and that test will actually give you those green credentials to actually say that your business, your tourism business is a sustainable tourism business as well. So it's also a company, an organisation, shall I say, that actually specialises in ecotourism. Our next terminology is responsible tourism. So again, another branch of being sustainable. This is very much coming back down to the visitor or you as the business to actually address the actual challenges of sustainable tourism, to actually be responsible when you're visiting a place, or if you're in the case of being a business, that you're responsible or you're taking responsible for your guests and addressing that in different number of ways. From responsible tourism, we move on to slow travel. And actually, we've spent a lot of time actually if you've joined us in our previous experience workshops in developing your experiences, this is a form of slow travel, because we're talking about small groups. We're talking about going off the beaten track and actually visiting destinations in the lower season, which is obviously what this project's all about. We want to see visitors come to Norfolk in that period from September to March in small groups and actually go off the beaten track and visit less well-known destinations, but have fantastic experiences that are really immersive. So actually, slow travel is exactly that. And just before we came on this morning, we were talking actually about Gardener's World. Funny enough, but actually Gardener's World is a slow TV experience. You know, it's like you sit there, you can actually watch Monty Don. He does a bit of gardening. It's very pleasurable. So this whole kind of slow TV, slow travel is very on trend at the moment as well. So that's obviously that connects very much into your own experiences that you're developing. It's what visitors are looking to do more and more as well. So from from slow travel, we also have transformational travel. This is where the visitor wants to actually make a life-changing experience, have a life-changing experience to actually somehow improve their well-being, their health, their life more generally, to actually learn something and actually be challenged as well. So again, this is another real growing area of sustainable tourism. People are going away, you know, it's a part of their study, or they just literally want to do something and actually tick that off and say it's in their bucket list. I've achieved this. I've helped, you know, restore this wildflower meadow here on this edge of the fields in this small area in Norfolk, for example. Or it can be a bigger thing, and they're climbing a big mountain in Asia, for example. So transformational travel is very much on the visitor, the traveler actually doing something and achieving something. But as the business, you could be offering that transformational travel experience as a part of your experiences or your product. And finally, we have the green economy. So this is very much talking about the economics around the environment and sustainable development in tourism as well. So it kind of all fits together, and all of these terms are all associated with sustainable tourism. And I'm sure there are many other terminologies out there, but what we're talking about is many of these different terms, but the main term that we're talking about is about sustainable tourism. So when it comes to my graphic there to catch up, when it comes to sustainable tourism, we're talking about the economic, the social and environmental issues. So addressing them ahead, and also addressing them for the needs of our host communities. So in the places, in the towns, the villages, in the countryside, in Norfolk generally, that's what we're looking at to address. So we're looking to increase the benefits to therefore reduce the negative impacts it has on all of those different things. So that's protecting natural environments through wildlife and natural resources, and you know, for you to develop an experience that has that kind of that message throughout, but actually have an experience that actually delivers some of that as well. And also looking to actually bring tourists and local communities together for that mutual benefit. So tourism and a local community don't just, you know, they don't just sit next to each other. They should be working together. So you've got local residents, the community really involved with tourism. So it's not just, oh, that's that thing, that tourism bit over there, and we don't get involved in that. Sustainable tourism is very much about working those two different things together and providing those social and economic benefits for the community as well, through jobs and employment and skills and training as well. And obviously it's good for small and medium-sized independent or just general independent businesses as well. So the definition of sustainable tourism from the World Tourism Organization is very much about meeting the needs of tourists, but also those host communities, those host regions, while protecting and enhancing the opportunities for the future as well. So this will become clearer if this is a new piece of work that you've not actually looked at before. This will be worked through the whole workshop this morning, but this is very much what we're talking about. It's the economic, the social and the environmental. And actually through your registration of the project, the experience project here in Norfolk, we asked you a few questions around this area about how your own experiences and activities were actually going to address some of these things and actually benefit the community and the environment and the social aspect as well. So no doubt you already got a vision on this. Now, this is a really popular way of looking at sustainable tourism. It's a popular chart that has those 3 areas. We've put them into 3 Ps so they can be a bit more memorable. So people at the top there is the social aspects. So this is the communities, it's the education, the town, the village, the countryside, and the well-being or mental health and the health generally of a community. So that's very much our social. And then the yellow is the profits, the second P, which is the economics. This is about your business. This is about being profitable and actually making a successful business, because obviously that's incredibly important. And then in the green there, it's the environmental, it's the wildlife, it's our natural capital, it's our natural resources as well, and looking after them. And it's when we put those 3 things together, we have crossover, and that crossover is obviously really important to create those experiences. And that crossover can complement. It can be challenging at times, obviously, when you're trying to address something like this, but it's obviously something that works very well when you're actually addressing it and looking at it for the first time as well. But I should say that this diagram, which has been around for many years, has played part of many different projects and successful campaigns as well. Just going back to one initiative by the Philippine government back in 2018, you might have heard this in the news. A particular island of the Philippines had so much over-tourism. So many people visiting from around the world, visiting that island, and actually what they found is actually that island had to close in order to restart that island to be a destination, but to be sustainable for the future, because it was just getting so many people and the environment was having an impact. So what they actually did was they closed an actual island for 6 months, would you believe, to be able to restore that island and restore that. And they actually had several different environmental projects going on there. And now they're actually addressing it, and actually that tourism is sustainable on that island. So it's very much smaller groups. They monitor the amount of people they have on that island visiting, etc. And it's through this crossover of profit, people, and the place, our 3 Ps there, that those projects have been successful. So this is a proven and successful way of doing things. So why exactly should you focus on being sustainable? Obviously, most of us are all small independent businesses, and we're already really super busy in actually running our experiences or activities or accommodation, whatever you might be doing. So it's also, there's time and there's resource. But the one thing when it comes to tourism is that no, unlike any other industry, we are selling a product, which is a destination. So it's Norfolk. No one's actually, Norfolk belongs to us all, and no one's actually overseeing that. Obviously we have the council, we have the county council, we have district level as well, and they all have responsibility for that generally. But it's a real industry that, if you want to set up an accommodation business, you obviously go through planning, etc. But it's a really broad area, it's a really broad industry. So it's so easy to saturate an area with over tourism and just having that kind of mix of different attractions and activities and things like that. So actually it's very vulnerable, and that's why councils like Norfolk County Council have projects just like this in order to be more sustainable when it comes to tourism, so we can manage tourism better and make it more sustainable. So one thing, obviously, why sustainable tourism matters is because if we don't look after it, then it's just going to be down to a very small amount of people and businesses. So we all have a part in this, and we all need to work together in order to be sustainable. And we actually we have some obviously well-known faces there. More recently at the Platinum Jubilee party at Buckingham Palace recently. Being climate change and tourism was mentioned there by David Attenborough and Prince William. It's on the agenda. It's a part of the climate change response. So we know through media that is obviously really important when it comes to climate change. And when it comes to climate change, there's the Glasgow Declaration on Climate Action in Tourism. So this took place in Glasgow last year, where it was to look at actually how, as a planet, how can we respond to tourism, and the World Tourism Organization, the leaders, if you like, in tourism globally, brought together this declaration across the world and actually said, let's declare that action needs to be taken against this climate emergency. So we know, that what we do when we want to be more sustainable in our own businesses, however small or big that might be, it has an impact. And I really encourage you to have a look at the Glasgow Declaration, the Climate Action in Tourism. And I think my colleague Maria is just going to share the link. You can become a member, you can sign the declaration, and that will give you more information about things that are happening here in the UK. It will give you updates, but it also shows your commitment that you want to be more sustainable. It's a journey. They're not expecting that you're already doing things that it's all great, tick, tick, you're being more sustainable. It's a journey. So we have councils, we have destination management organizations, we have small businesses, we have B&B owners that are signing up to that global declaration saying, hey, we're a tourism business, but we want to be more sustainable. We want to care for our planet and our communities as well. So please have a look at the Glasgow Declaration if you haven't done so already, and that will enable you to sign up to other membership schemes or other declarations as well to get more support when it comes to climate change and also sustainable tourism. And Unmissable England has recently signed the declaration as well to say that we're committed when it comes to climate change, and we're doing all that. We'll do everything we can over the next few years to make our experiences more sustainable, to work with our experience providers in order to do that, but also looking at that whole production of the food and drink that comes in using locally sourced, those kind of things. So as I say, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be have a complete strategy or anything like that when it comes to sustainable tourism. They're looking for businesses and organizations that want to be a part of that and sign that declaration. So what are the benefits when it comes to being more sustainable in tourism? So you've shared some of those with us already. Let's just go through some of those right now. And there are plenty more that are not actually on the screen here, because first of all, if we look at the column on the left-hand side, that's very much for the environment, for the planet, for the social impact, for our communities and the people. So here are just some of those benefits that being sustainable will help. It obviously will help to conserve and enhance our really important landscapes, our natural capital, and our wildlife. So these are, important assets that we need to protect. And if we don't, nobody else will do. So we, we need to protect those. We also want those in cleaner environments. We want to support our communities, as we said, and we also want to create those sustainable experiences where it takes people away from those honeypot locations as well. Now, it might come down to the benefits of being more sustainable by using less single-use plastic that will actually later harm the environment. So it's actually doing things within your business right now that will have less of an impact if you're making that change. And for your business, sustainability creates, adds a lot of value. There's a lot of good communications and marketing things that you can do around being sustainable that your visitors will love. So more and more we're seeing visitors want to stay and visit and actually engage in attractions that are more sustainable. So you're reaching a particular audience type there as well. And obviously it helps reduce your costs on energy and water and those kind of things as well. That's just some very kind of top level, if you like, of benefits. But in this part of the workshop, we're going to have an activity for the next 10-15 minutes where I'd like to hear from all of you on the call this morning about things that you might be able to do that will benefit the environment, your community, but very much your business as well. So I think the recording is going to stop very short. Now I'm going to share some case study examples from across the country of some really good practice that might give you some creative ideas on how you can be more sustainable in your business, and things that you might already be doing as well, just to kind of show you and actually say, yeah, I'm doing this right. So here's some examples. I should have said at the very beginning, this workshop is not it's not been designed to tell you this is exactly what you should be doing, and if you don't do it, it's really bad. This is us talking, as peers to peers, to talk about the environment, about being sustainable, and it's a huge learning curve for all businesses. So this is very much a journey of how to be more sustainable as well. And here are those examples I was telling you about. So let's take you to Minehead in Somerset. I absolutely love this hotel. This is the Beach Hotel on the promenade at Minehead. I've stayed here a couple of times. It's a classic kind of seaside town, Minehead, if you've never been. This is a Victorian old building called the Beach Hotel. It's actually run by the YMCA. Now, you wouldn't know that from its website or its online presence. You wouldn't know that as you stepped in. It's been modernized inside. It's a very nice experience. You get that fantastic food that you see on the screen there in their very cool contemporary restaurant. And it's a very special, nice place. Now, this whole hotel is very much about upskilling the local long-term unemployed. So many of the people that work there have been homeless, have had difficulties through addiction and a whole host of different kind of social issues as well locally. And the YMCA are working with them to offer training and apprenticeships to support their local population of the unemployed as well. And they offer some fantastic training through catering and hospitality. And their food and drink is award-winning. They've won Somerset Life Food and Drink Awards, etc. And it's brilliant stuff. It's locally sourced as well. So there's so much sustainable tourism going on in that one place. It's incredible. But the experience you get there through knowing, because it's very subtly done, because the chefs that are cooking for you, it's all in an open plan kitchen and restaurant, so they can actually see you and you can see them. But it's been purposely designed that way, so it can actually boost the staff's confidence in what they're doing, so they can see the reaction of the guests enjoying and eating the food as well. So that feedback is direct back to those members of staff as well. There's so many great initiatives in this place. Another one is a beach clean. So you've got that blackboard on the entrance, the beach, plastic free at Minehead. You get a free coffee every time you go out and do a beach clean, and you get that metal bucket, just like what Charlotte was saying, and you go out onto the beach and around the area, and you can do a beach clean for a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. This has been around for a long time, but it'd be great to see more and more of this, and actually threaded through experiences as well as accommodation as well. But if you haven't been to Minehead, if you're going to Minehead, I should say, the Beach Hotel is a really good place to visit, if not just for a coffee or for a lunch or for a stay as well, because their approach to sustainable tourism is really spot on. Now taking you to Wiltshire, this is a treetop treehouse experience where it's basically it's a green escape. You might not have a treehouse to do this, but this just gives you an example of being really sustainable. So everything from the toilet to the toiletries, the whole system, the whole experience is super green. It's sustainable, and it's quite a high-end item, obviously being in a treetop, a tree house thing. But there might be some things that you can do in your own business through, the plastics that you use in the accommodation. For example, you might be using more hand soap than actually single-use plastics, or a cylinder that you actually refill the soap as well. So those kind of things as well. So you don't, you might not have a treetop accommodation, but if you have got an accommodation, there's things that you can do throughout your accommodation to make it more sustainable. Next, we're going to take you up to Scotland. This is featured in Visit Scotland's one of their case studies in being more sustainable. And I just wanted to share this with you because obviously, we've just seen a really kind of high-end experience, a high-end accommodation. But this is a company based on the harbour, and they, I'll show the video and it makes sense, but you don't have to be a big business in order to be more sustainable. And that didn't play the video. No. There we go.
The lobsters that we sell at the Lobster Shack come from the harbour at North Berwick. There are about 5 boats fishing there, and we probably buy about 80% of their catch, and the rest would go abroad to Spain. Our potatoes come from Samuelstown, which is just the other side of Haddington, and they make fantastic chips for us. This is Lobster Shack Lager, which was made specially for us by the Edinburgh Beer Factory, and it just goes really, really well with seafood. A nice, crisp drink to enjoy down by the sea. What we did with the Edinburgh Beer Factory is work to try and get something that would suit the shellfish, and also it's just up the road. They make it and brew it specially for us, so we designed all the labels and everything just to make it a bit funkier, a bit more interesting, and we found that people really, really enjoy it. The Lobster Shack is primarily it is a carry-out restaurant, and everything that we use is biodegradable. So the packaging, even the cups that you have your juice in and things like that, that's all biodegradable. Environmental sustainability is one of the most important things to myself as the founder of the Lobster Shack and to all my colleagues. And I think that's one of the things that really works for us. And I think it's one of the things that's really important to our customers. So they want to know that we are doing everything possible to make it sustainable. And I think that's one of the reasons why they love it so much, and why they keep coming back, but also the food tastes really good. That makes all the difference.
There we go, just another example there. I picked that one because I think it's just a good business just to show that you don't have to, he's got quite a straightforward business there on the harbour selling fish, but all the packaging, is sustainable as well. So it's looking at all the different ways that you can work with your audiences to be able to offer those sustainable solutions and benefits as well. So when it comes to actually making your business more sustainable, there are many different ways in order to do that. So I'm just going to share some practical ideas and solutions for various different businesses. And again, it'd be great to hear any ideas that you might have as well, or things that you might be doing as well. So here's a big long list of different things, and some of these featured in your answers as well, that when we asked you when registering. So simple things like switching off devices at the wall instead of leaving them on standby. That could be something that we can all do at home. It doesn't have to be something we just do on holiday. But it's really interesting that actually visitors, when they go away on holiday, and I'm going to say we, and I don't mean myself on everything like this, but sometimes, we're on holiday and we treat the place different than we would treat the place at home. For example, we might have a longer shower because we're paying for it. We might have only use the towel once. How often do you only use the towel once at home? You just wouldn't. So actually, a I actually say I don't do any of those things, but it's really interesting that how we go on holiday, and because we're paying, a lot of the time a lot of money to go and do these, have these holidays and have these experiences. But when it comes to accommodation, things like overuse of water, the towels, those kind of things are things that we kind of, it's been ingrained in us because we're paying that amount of money and we're having that holiday. Now, some hotels approach that by lots of signage and messaging, which can be really kind of negative and kind of just kind of off-putting as well. There is a balance that you're trying to do. So things like, switch off your devices. You don't want a label in your accommodation saying, make sure you once you charge your phone, take it out and don't leave it on standby, for example, or reduce, recycle next to the bin or things like that. So you want some subtle information, some subtle communications when you're doing that to your guests, with your guests, and that could be done through one reusable leaflet or poster in the room that's really really nicely presented and saying, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing as a local business to be more sustainable, this is what we're committed to do, and you can help us in order to do that, to achieve that. So that's how you can put that messaging out, and that can be in the front of your bedroom browser, it can be on a nice panel on the wall. It just tells your guests as well that you're switched on to about being sustainable. But you don't want to create all these rules where it's really negative and there's just so many signs as well. So we're already, you can tick the third one down there, collaborating with other nearby businesses to offer those authentic experiences out of season in less well-known destinations. Many of us are already doing that, or we're looking to do that more and more so. So that's something, again, you can be communicating as well if you're not so already. But right through to your food waste, turning your temperature down by 1 degree, looking at saving water to introducing a grey water system, for example, and other things that we've heard from this morning from Charlotte, for example, investing also in low energy light bulbs. The list goes on. You can see I'm not going to go read through all of them there, but I think it's interesting just to spend some time now to look at what practical solutions we can all do just to offer that better sustainable tourism experience. For example, electric cars. My own experience. Just on Friday, I don't know if you know, but I do a scone making experience where I live across in Oxfordshire, and I had 2 American tourists who flew over from America. They stayed in Dublin. They got the ferry from the Irish coast over to near Fishguard, and then they got an electric car from Fishguard, and they went on holiday to Tenby, and then they came and did my experience, and then they were going up to North Wales. Now, at the moment, with electric cars, you can't do much distance, so they were charging their car, having to go off to different places, different destinations in order to charge their car and then spend a lot of time. But I offered them, if they wanted to charge their car at my place, they could do. And we're hearing more and more of this, actually, especially with accommodation, to actually offer this as as a solution. Charge for it, you're not just going to, especially with the price of electricity at the moment, charge for it, but you just become another destination, a place. And actually, if hire companies are now giving out cars that are electric, and your guests might be using the hire company to come, or they might already have their own electric cars. Just by saying, if you want to charge a car, just a top up, what have you, it's 20-30 pounds, what have you, and here's this very long cable in order to do that, which they'll have obviously their own cable as well. So it's those kind of practical solutions. I once sat in a similar workshop to this where I met an accommodation provider. So no, we had a big sign saying no electric, no electric charging of your car. We weren't going to do that. And I asked them, I said, well, why? She goes, oh no, because it's too expensive. And I said, well, why don't you charge for it then? You wouldn't expect to go to a fuel station and have free petrol. So why is it different from your electricity? No, that's a really good point. So it's just things like that. It's just about spending some time and thinking about things in a slightly different way. And sometimes that works, sometimes that needs some extra work. So I want to hear from you now in our second activity, and there might be some things that you're doing already, but we just want you to kind of prioritize and create your own mini kind of to-do list, if you like, on things that you can do to be more sustainable for your business that will have, you know, an impact, you know, a good impact, I should say, on the environment, your communities around you, but also your business as well. So we're just going to pause the before we do that. Let's just mention now, because all those things that we've just been talking about, they roughly are things that we're doing on our own. We're doing them as a business on our own, and it's really important that we don't feel like we're doing it on our own when it comes to sustainable tourism. We should be working in collaboration. We should be working with partnership. So, you know, kind of speaking to the local LEP, speaking to the council, county council, being involved obviously in this project, working with other businesses in this project is really important, not just for that growth and, you know, being successful in your business, but also from being more sustainable as well. So I've got a road sweeper coming past my window at the moment, so apologies for that. But yeah, don't do it. Don't attempt to do it on your own. Work in collaboration and keep looking to work in collaboration. If there's something that you can do in partnership with another business and promote that and share that thinking, then that's really great. So let's move on to getting your sustainability message right and actually communicating what you're doing. When it comes to, you know, kind of telling people what you're doing, there are at the bottom of the screen there, you can see greenhushing and greenwashing. So you might have heard of greenwashing. That's when you're actually, or a business or somebody's actually giving disinformation and actually saying that they're doing these amazing things. They're saying they're really environmentally friendly, etc. And all they're doing is, I think one of the ones was a particular cruise line boats was, by 2025 we're going to have you know, reusable straws. They weren't going to be using single-use straws. For me, that was greenwashing. That was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2025. And a straw, you know, it's literally a drop in an ocean, excuse the pun. For me, that's very much greenwashing. So we don't want to be doing any of that, but we also don't want to be doing any green hushing. That's when we're not telling other people and our visitors and communicating what we're doing, what our sustainable best practices are. So you've got to be shouting about what you're doing, and this is going to help you with your marketing generally, because the people that you will attract will be the right customer as well, because they're going to love what you're doing if you're telling them about it. You don't want to go overboard, but you want to be able to create a story around what you're doing. So that story can be told through your website. This is what we're doing this month. This is what we've done so far. We've got the solar panels, we've got this incentive, and what we would like to do in the next 2 years is this. We want to have that, and we want to have a beach clean, you know, for our guests that can, you know, have a reusable bucket, you know, whatever it might be. Create that story and tell your guests exactly what you're doing and what you also plan to do as well, and, you know, have that information throughout your building, if you've got a building, and actually make sure guests actually know what they're kind of, you know, what you're all about when it comes to sustainability. But don't view sustainability just as an add-on or an add-on feature to your business. It's a part of your business. It's a part of us. It's a part of what we do. It becomes simpler then and easier to integrate and into your own business. So, and I can hear that already through everybody that's spoken. It's a part of what you're doing, which is great. So, you know, if it's new to you and you've not done some of these things that we've been talking about this morning, very much think about it being included. So include that in your communications, into your marketing, into your social media as well, and really connect with your visitors. That's, you know, that's a real advantage point when you're communicating what you're doing. You're actually connecting with your visitors and a potential customer base that you're trying to attract. Also create green heroes, and without calling them that, but people or other partners, businesses, other organizations, you know, feature them on your social media, on your website, give examples. You know, we just heard about Christine's Pub and what they're doing. You know, feature that on your website as a bit of text if you're nearby, or etc., or the campsite, or the canoe boats, and share that great incentive of having that discount. Talk about other local schemes and other things going on as well as what you're doing, and that will really help you. But make sure you're authentic and add value. And that goes throughout our whole training of all the things that we've been doing. We always say about authentic experiences that add value. And that goes the same when it comes to being sustainable as well. So add things that will add value to your business, but also has that value for the environment, local communities as well. So there's some tips on how to get your sustainable message right. As I say, you don't want to wash it, but you don't want to hush it. You want to, somewhere in the middle, keep authentic and add value when you do that. So here's, as we come towards the end, this is how just how to put some of those practical things in being more sustainable into a Trek checklist. And this is a checklist that we recommend. First of all, identify what you are going to do differently. So make that list and prioritize that list of things, whether that's electric charging points, adding solar panels, getting rid of all those single-use plastics in a hotel room and then replacing them with refills or other solutions as well. So actually think about that. Think about developing that sustainable approach to tourism that makes sense very much for you, for your visitors, as well as the environment. It's got to make practical sense for you and financial sense as well. You don't want to be losing money, obviously, to making a change. You want to make it still profitable. So you need to be clever in your approach there. And also adopt a smart, sustainable outlook from that top to bottom. So that goes back to that being successful in your business as well. And then have an aim to reduce the energy use and save water. That could be turning down your temperature by 1 degree, having some really friendly, approachable messages in your rooms or on the campsite about using less water, with a nice smiley face, those kind of things, and say we're looking to look after our planet, and those kind of messages around that. And also, just waste disposable. And we heard of a great initiative there where it's actually things are being shared and reused as well. Having an approach to that, offering reuse and also recycling points if you're able to do that in the right type of business as well. And actually where you buy your products, locally sourced or produced, or where that chain has come from, that manufacturing chain as well, and you can actually locate that as well. That's also good to communicate, but also do in your business. And finally, minimize your food miles by staying local and using using seasonal food and drink where possible as well. It's not always easy to do, but if you're aiming to do it and doing as much as you can, that's really helpful. And also, as I say, don't forget to tell others, don't forget to tell your visitors, your customers, exactly what you're doing and what you're doing now and what you aim to do as well going forward. And finally there, if you haven't done so already, look at signing up to other green schemes. So I mentioned the Glasgow scheme there and the declaration, but also when you sign up to that, you can also sign up to the Tourism Declares, which is all around climate change. There's a link coming up in the next slide, and that's associated, that's a UK-based scheme, and that's all the businesses that are declaring, yes, climate change and there is a climate emergency, and tourism, is one of those impacts. This is what we're doing, this is what we want to share, and this is our plan and our strategy. So have a look at that, Tourism Declares, and Google as well. As I said, the link's coming up on this slide here at the bottom. Here are also some further readings that you might be interested in doing, from RAP to energy saving, Green Tourism Award as well, which is you can have that certificate and actually having the credentials to be more responsible, and that link there if you haven't looked at the Glasgow Declaration.